a decade ago, um, we used to go to banks, brick and mortar based banks to do our services, correct, to get our various things. And with the advent of ATM, things changed a little bit. But what they changed a lot is the emergence of FinTech, correct? So which made our life very, very easy and made it very seamlessly things possible without even walking to a branch or anything. I think hardly maybe a few percentage of people may be walking into a bank branch or a life insurance company or any fintech financial services organization at this point of time, correct? So everything is done digitally. I think if that is one thing which we have to give credit, the credit goes to the fintech companies, correct? The new entrants in the fintechs not only challenged the status quo of the way we operated, but also brought in the technology, right technology, and made it very easy for the consumer. And with the adoption of mobile, everyone started using the apps and various things, whatever is available in their mobile. And that changed things, correct? And we don't need to stand in queue. We don't need to do anything, correct? Everything, I think from the comfort of our couch, we were able to do various things. The status quo challenging is one thing which was possible only by fintechs, correct? These advancements has changed the way we are working and brought in new products also, correct? Which made our lives better and easy. This brings to the topic of today's podcast, correct? Is to highlight and appreciate the changes on how the financial institutions, the way we were handling, has been changed by fintechs. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. I'm Sankaranarayanan Raghavan. I'm handling as I'm India First Life as Chief Technology and Data Officer. I'll be your host for this edition of our podcast, Financially Speaking, Conversations powered by India First Life. I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Sajja Praveen Chowdary to our podcast. He has been with Policybazaar from the day they started. He has a very strong background in product and technology management in the financial e-commerce product services market. He's currently the business unit head of Policybazaar, a fintech company. Welcome, Sajja. Really glad to have you here. As I mentioned, there is no better person than you to be part of this podcast. Thanks for being part of this.
Thank you. Thanks, Shankar. My pleasure.
Policybazaar has become synonymous with all Indians here. Maybe you want to share a little bit about your journey, Sajja, a little bit.
Shankar, basically, I joined Policybazaar in about 2011, in the business development division in order to handle relationship with primarily insurance companies and banks at that point of time. And we were into a different model at that point of time where we used to kind of divert queries for insurance to insurance companies. And we used to get revenue out of that. And insurance companies used to kind of, then approach customers and then kind of fulfill their needs and so on and so forth. What we realized over a period of time is that, the customer experience is somewhere going for a toss in such a model. And the customer is not getting what they would want to, because at the end of the day, they might be comparing on the website, but then at the end of the day, the person who's going to the customer is only selling one product, and that might not be the right one, right? And then we moved into a model over a period of time where we've had seamless experience or seamless journeys on our website for any product of insurance that the customer wishes to compare and purchase. So the customer can come in, key in basic details about their age or the amount that they would want to invest, or their gender, smoking habits, and then probably look at different quotes of different insurance companies and compare what product offers what kind of a thing, and then choose what suits them best and quickly make a payment and complete the transaction, say in a matter of minutes, and do everything online kind of. And that's how our journey has been from 2011 till date kind of. Over a period of time, we've kind of partnered with insurance companies and in getting all of this backend infrastructure built out in terms of APIs and services, because most of the insurance industry has been working on an agency or a branch-led model at that point of time, and not many had APIs or any other infrastructure that was required for an online journey. So we've partnered with insurance companies in ensuring that these getting built, and over a period of time those getting revised for a further smoother experience kind of a thing. whether it's about the status of policy or throughout the underwriting process, or how do we automate different processes during that, so the consumer can be updated with exact stage and also do not feel left out, kind of a thing, right? And also can quickly complete anything that's required. So that's how it has been. And today we partner with about 48 plus insurance companies across both life and general space, with almost all the major companies in the industry. And that's how it is. I think with love of customers and with the support of insurers like you, we are here where we are today, and we look forward to a bright future. I myself have been on the business development side in the start, where I was handling insurance relationship for a couple of years, and I moved into technology and product, where I was heading the product and technology vertical for one of the lines of business. I did that for about 2 years, couple of years, and then I moved into take care of strategic partnerships with the company for about a year, where we were trying to tie up with e-commerce ventures and others. And post that, I moved into motor insurance as a deputy business unit head, and that for a couple of years, and then as a business unit head for a couple of years. And since last April, I've been taking care of term insurance at Policybazaar. That's how my journey has been all along.
Yeah, I think one thing what is clearly stand out for a fintech company, it's the obsession about two things, correct? If I can say, one is about the customer experience, and the second is about using the technology at the right place. Correct. So if at all I have to talk about the Policybazaar as a fintech company, for example, so it is not only insurance which plays a role, correct? You play a role in various things. So insurance is also two aspects. One is maybe a protection, and second is about the wealth management as such. So with these two things, correct, with the two obsession with what I mentioned about the customer experience and technology, what you guys use to make a better help the customer, and ours maybe protection and wealth management. How do you think that the growth of role of technology in fintechs has evolved in the past decade or so?
Yeah, as we were just speaking about, right, Shankar, and just now, 2000. If you speak about the last decade, especially then, compared to about 2010, 11. As I said, almost I think not only insurance, even the bank branching and other banking system and others also, or most of these systems have been built basis some understanding or underlying thought process, saying this is how business will be conducted and this is what the requirements will be. I guess it was never built with a understanding that at some point of time in future there'll be e-commerce, there'll be people buying on someone's website and transacting somewhere else, and that transaction would be real time reconciling with the systems and so on and so forth. And as a result, I think all the systems have been built from that perspective. I think it was an enormous task, or it's an enormous change that has happened across the industry in terms of revamping of the entire systems or technology, in terms of in order to be able to provide third-party service providers or say brokers like us or intermediaries like us with those required APIs or required systems in order to fulfill what the consumer is looking forward to today. Because what the customer was in 2010 is not the same what he or she is today. They've also evolved a lot, given the way the e-commerce experience has been across various other day-to-day purchase sites or apps that they use, kind of, right? Everything has got upgraded, and hence their the kind of expectation that they have is different. So in terms of moving in that direction, I think at that point of time, anything that you wanted was always requiring a physical interaction for sure. In 2010, probably you wanted a statement for your, say, investment plan that you had, or you had to make a premium payment. Most of the times it had you going to a branch, or you going and setting up a manual ECS, or you going and requesting, or someone going on behalf of you, or you calling up someone and someone coming and giving it to you, right? Versus now today, in terms of experience, I'm referring to post-transaction experience. You can always do that just from your mobile app itself or from a mobile phone itself, and everything comes to you instantly, that too, instantaneously. And at that point of time, obviously, you used to have the time period of, say 9:30 to 3:30 in between, where you have to visit the branch and so on and so forth. So definitely it has evolved a lot. The technology has evolved a lot, and that's what has helped in building up of this entire thing, whether you call it about insurance or bank branching as such. Sorry, branch banking as such.
Okay, I think one thing, convenience certainly leads to adoption for sure. The consumer started adapting basically because there was a convenience which was brought in by means of the customer experience by fintech companies, correct, from the way they started looking things from a traditional bank or an insurance route. From a consumer mindset, correct? Can you shed some light on what is their mindset towards these kinds of offering by a fintech company? What do you think is your view?
So, as I said, the consumer view has changed over a period of time. See, again, if you're comparing with the past, about a decade back or whenever it is, there are two things that have prominently evolved, right? And where does this consumer change also get into? Because when you're dealing with money and when you're dealing with investments and when you're dealing with your personal wealth kind of a thing, uh, you are always kind of slightly on a back foot, or you uh, are not so aggressive, is what I would say. People would be slightly more careful about where they spend or how much do they spend, and or how much do they pay, where do they pay, what do they buy, not buy, and all of that, right? Vis-a-vis probably a day-to-day kind of a stuff, whether it is a one-time usage kind of a stuff, like probably you're buying, say, what do you call, a shirt for yourself or so on and so forth. It's a different category altogether, and hence people have been slightly, I would say, conservative kind of a thing. And for such a conservative category to be here where we are today, I think the couple of things which have changed the consumer behavior. One is obviously the evolution of internet speeds and the way mobile phones usage and the data usage has moved, right? That's one part clearly, because without that such an internet speed, I don't think anyone would be sitting on a laptop or a mobile and then kind of trying to complete that kind of a transaction. And they might still prefer to kind of walk up and quickly do the transaction, so on and so forth. The second thing is, I think, a lot of confidence that has been built by the uh, e-commerce players, the broad horizon e-commerce players, who are mostly into multiple transacting or a category kind of a thing. For example, travel. Let's say a train ticket, or say a bus ticket. Let's say a red bus kind of a thing, or a say make my trip or a yatra. And let's say an Amazon on day-to-day buying kind of thing, or a Flipkart which started with books and so on and so forth. All of these players, I think, the way they've been able to build their journey and their systems, and they've been able to service the customers, I think that's what has helped create the confidence in customers, saying saying we can transact online, and this is pretty much easier, right? Now, let me try and look at it this way. Let's assume there's internet, but let's assume there was no, as I said, there's no Make My Trip, there was no Yatra, there was no Flipkart or Amazon, and so on and so forth, right? And let's assume we still, then what we might be having, what we would be having is probably an online gaming companies. That's it. Then we would not be having someone who's actually transacting with money, right? What these e-commerce players also has helped is made these customers come online and start transacting more and more, and that's where I guess the confidence is also coming to customers that yes, they can do the same thing with probably the financial instruments as well, and that's also led to kind of an adoption, I would say. So that's how the consumer, some bit of change in the consumer side of it has come in, with a category that's normally conservative on the financial side, right? That's one part. Having said that, obviously, there's the other side of it also. The way the e-commerce companies have started to service customers, everything at their doorstep, changed the way customers looked at the service on the financial side also. So let's assume the way people would do instant refunds, say the way Make My Trip does an instant refund into your wallet or whatever it is, and they clearly say the refund was done in XYZ seconds or XYZ minutes and so on and so forth. Or the way let's assume no questions asked, pick up and drop, or returns policy and so on and so forth. These kind of things have I would say probably they pampered the customers to an extent, where I think it brought in over a period of time, while the customer started transacting on the financial side of it. I think that also brought a change in the consumer perspective, or a customer view, that they started demanding such things from the financial side of stuff as well, from whether it's from insurance or the banking side of it. And I would say probably, if it is not a negative word to use, less patience is the word, kind of, right? People are less patient now, even on this segment also. And that brings in a lot of pressure on us, or people like us also, to kind of keep developing more, or keep becoming better on the customer service front, and ensuring that we're able to reach those service levels that the customer is aspiring towards, kind of. And I think we keep striving towards it, in terms of whether it's about If a customer wants an endorsement, can we get it done in the policy instantaneously on the website itself without making the customer write an email or sending documents separately and so on and so forth, which was never thought of in the past. If I would say, even 3 years back or 4 years back, this was never thought of in the industry as such, right? Which we've been able to do today. And similarly, let's assume if the customer had let's assume some minor damages in the car, or let's say windshield damage kind of a thing. Can the video be captured at customer's home itself or wherever the customer is, and then everything happens at customer's home itself? No one has to walk out anywhere, kind of a thing, right? All of this is kind of possible through technology advancements, but at the same time, I think a lot of it has also been driven by the way customer experienced has got experience in other verticals of e-commerce as such. Yeah, and that's how it is.
I think you put it very nicely, correct? How e-commerce companies helped in getting the confidence and then explore various things in fintech space. I know you have brought it out in the conversation so far, but I want to shed a little bit focus on this so that it comes out, stands out very effectively. Can you just maybe share what do you think, according to you, has been a disruption which has been brought out by startups in the fintech space? I know you have said a few examples, but I just wanted to focus on maybe a couple of examples according to you as a disruption.
Sure. See, when you there are 2-3 segments, right? When you speak about fintech kind of a thing, we can speak about let's say the way banking transactions have happened, and let's say the way insurance transactions have happened. I think that's a couple of places where we can clearly speak about when you say what kind of disruption has happened, or how has it happened, right? Rather than banking, I would rather speak about, say, that from a transactions kind of a category, I would say, which is probably whether it's about your banking transactions, or whether it's about kind of how do you call it, your payments, or the way you handled your money for a day-to-day transacting perspective. There used to be a time when basically salaries used to come in cash. Our parents used to probably go and take salaries in cash every month, and or probably around 7th of the next month, and so on and so forth. And and then there was a time when obviously this moved to probably and then they obviously used to go back and then probably deposit some part in in a bank, and some part they used to use and they used to save it in home, and so on and so forth. And then there was a time when this used to come through check. You go and you collect your check, and then you go to a bank branch, then you deposit the check, and you do all of that stuff, and then you also manage your leaves accordingly. Someday you have some urgent requirement of money at home, then you have to take a leave in office, then you have to go to a bank branch, withdraw money, get that money, and then probably you speak of a thing called a half-day leave, right? Yeah. So
for millennials, it will be a difficult thing to even comprehend, correct?
Yeah. So a half-day leave, sir. I would need a half-day leave, please, to go to a bank branch, right? So that's how it used to be. And then came the ATMs, where probably you could do through you can kind of use ATMs and then kind of withdraw and then transact and so on and so forth. And obviously there was also this issue of what do you call it, robbery or whatever it is, that you cannot carry so much of cash even if you're traveling for something else also. All of that. And come today where you don't do any of these. The salary comes in time into the account, you get an SMS saying this much of salary is created, and then the next day salary slip comes out, and you don't even withdraw the money. But there are still people who withdraw quite a few sums of money, but then a lot of people who don't withdraw the money. All of that happens via UPI, via payment apps, or via Google Pay, and so on and so forth, right? Whether you're paying your maid, or whether you're paying the kirana store, or whether you're paying the milk guy, or whoever it is, and things have changed a lot. So on the payment side, while some of the people who have started interacting with us say, okay, it has happened, but it's just about convenience. That's it. But then I think somewhere over a period of time we also tend to forget that it's not only about convenience, but also about the amount of time saved and the amount of time that you can use productively somewhere else, right? As a person, obviously standing in an ATM queue for about 15 minutes just to pull out money, and using the 15 minutes not going anywhere, and obviously not to go to ATM, then obviously you also spend another 15 minutes going and coming. Probably end up spending an hour, or if you want to go to a bank branch, then you end up spending an hour. And all of this probably leads to you being able to utilize that with your family, or whether it's for your productive usage on your job or in your business. And especially when you speak about business side of people, right? So that's one clear-cut segment where whether it's about handling of your day-to-day stuff, or whether it's about paying payments, whether it's your electricity bill payment, mobile bill payment, whatever it is, and everything happening instantly, right? An instant service which you could do. This is one clear-cut thing which definitely has happened with the way fintechs have come in, and or the way technology is being used. The other side of it, when you speak about insurance, I guess we ourselves at Policybazaar are one example in how probably insurance is consumed today versus what it has been in the past, right? I started my career in 2008 with ICICI Prudential Life in a sales channel. I still remember how that days obviously consumers used to purchase. I don't think that days we had anything called as an online channel as such, where every transaction was led by multiple meetings at customers' place or at a branch, and then a physical forms being submitted and so on and so forth, and then a physical ECS being done. And if a customer wants anything, then they have to travel to the branch and do all of that stuff. And that too, at that point of time, I think while that is one part of it, the transacting is one side of it. I think the other side of it is about was consumer having a full-fledged, clear-cut view of a comparison, or to make a right decision kind of a thing, right? Again, you can take an example of any other e-commerce also. In those days, for example, let's say if I were to take a simple example of travel, right? In those days, you used to have a travel agent whom you used to go to and used to ask, "Yeah, I have to go to Delhi. What is the cost from Mumbai?" And then the travel agent used to quote. Now you take it or leave it. That's how it is. You never had anything else. You either take it or leave it. But then come travel portals, and then the kind of information that's there with the customer, and they can decide which type of flight do they want to book, or what time of the day do they want to go, or which day do they want to go. There's a whole lot of advantage that's come in, and obviously the industry also flourished with time, right? Similarly, if you look at insurance also, I wouldn't say anything is wrong as such, but then obviously, given the way the systems have been, it is humanly also impossible, right? If there are about 20 odd insurance companies selling, everyone having about, say, 10 different types of policies, there are about 200 policies in the market. How do you expect one human being to sit down and explain you everything in the half an hour time that you would be giving that person? It's really not possible. So what used to happen is, obviously, whatever that person used to have on their forefront, some people used to go by what would be earning them a much more better commission, and some people would be actually going by what is the actual need. So hence, you had good advisors, bad advisors, whatever you call it, right? And that's how it is. The customer did not have much of a choice also, is what I would call as a result of that entire thing. And look at it today, I think a lot of people at least, end up comparing before they buy. And they're able to compare very transparently and see whether what the person is telling, or whoever is telling me, is right or wrong. And they're able to also transact easily online and do whatever they wish to, from the comfort of their home within a matter of few minutes. And for those who don't transact and end up transacting also, at least they compare and they make an informed decision. See, informed decision has a lot more either for the industry or the consumer also. Because we've seen in the past also people buying products which they thought work some way, and then they finally end up realizing after a year or 2 years, saying, this doesn't work this way. And then they end up, just canceling that after 3 years, and then end up losing some money. It's not good for the customer, or neither was it good for the insurance company, right? Now, when someone makes an informed decision, the customer is bound to stay long term. Now, whichever product it might be, you might say ULIPs are bad. Someone might say guaranteed products are bad. Everyone has their own view, whether it's about market linked or a guaranteed product, or whatever kind of a product it is. I'm referring to just say savings product kind of thing, right? Someone might say, a pure term is good. Someone might say a term written off premium wala plan is good. So, but at the end of the day, you as a consumer, you being able to sit wherever you are, or basically from the comforts of wherever you are, being able to kind of compare different kind of products and then choose what probably suits you the best. It's basically about the asymmetry in information going away, which was there earlier, and the customer having the power in their hands, kind of. Probably that's how insurance has changed over a period of time, and that's a big change. And as I said, it's always good for the customer as well as for the industry, right? When you have such things. Yeah.
Yes, I think Nothing like it, correct? As long as the customer gets the right input, it's something like the confidence among the minds of the customer is going to grow, and that's what we have seen. The confidence is growing as we speak. The last decade or so in the fintech companies. So, Sajja, what is cooking now? What are some innovations? What customers can look forward to?
So I think, as I said, Shankar, basically the customer expectations are definitely growing in terms of experience or in terms of whatever kind of service levels that they see. That's one clear-cut thing that's there. So which means I think the future will see a lot more automatically. Whosoever that fintech is, whether it's us, whether it's in banking space or it's in payment space or wherever it is, right? Whatever might be seen as a probably okay kind of a problem that this can a customer can live with or a company can live with, saying that this problem is there. Obviously, these kind of problems get solved in 2 days. So the customer has to wait for 2 days, or kind of whatever it is, right? Or say the customer has to wait for say 6 hours that someone has to verify and do and so on and so forth, or similar kind of a stuff. Or on the service delivery side, where it's about, as I said, whether it's about getting policy documents, which might also take some bit of time today, versus can they become much more instantaneous, or various other services also. Whether it's about the timelines that it takes for a service, or whether it's a kind of service delivery it is, everyone is bound to move faster in that direction with the way that the customer expectations are growing, kind of on the service side for sure. So that's one thing which will happen. It is not about a particular fintech as such, but it is about as a whole. Someone will do it if one doesn't do it. Let's assume if XY doesn't do it, ABC company will do it, and then obviously everyone will be forced to do it that way, kind of. So that's very clear, and especially in an era where everything is so publicly available. Unlike earlier, if someone XYZ company did not do it, then that used to come in a newspaper, and then the person used to read it and forget it, and so on. So, but today in a scenario where you have so much of information flowing left, right, and center, I think it's bound to happen. So that's one thing that will definitely happen. And the second thing which definitely will happen, and especially even in the insurance space, which we see over a period of time, is personalized offerings which will come out very clearly. Probably, if I were to draw a parallel to it, while it is happening, it might be happening in some of the places and all. If I were to draw an example, probably you're still seeing today how advertisements are being served to you personally, basis your interests and whatever your browsing interests are, and so on and so forth, right? Whatever you might be doing. It's just one of the parallel example that there's data, and basis that data, there's something that's being thrown to you in the form of an advertisement. Tomorrow, the product also might move in that direction. The products might move in that direction. Obviously, there's a lot to change, whether it's from a regulation perspective, whether it's from a back-end infrastructure perspective, which might be the banks or the insurance companies, which are the key players in this entire ecosystem. But then that's bound to happen. That's bound to happen from multiple dimensions. But if you speak about insurance as an ecosystem, right? One is about today the products which are there are kind of similar in nature. What you get is what I get, and so on and so forth, right? But we both are, as individuals, are different, and what we want might be very different. And at the same time, also, what we are as a risk to an insurance company is also different. So I think over a period of time, the insurance companies also will move in the direction where they would start to categorize risk differently, as we have a lots and lot more of data, and at least the end consumer interacting with the companies, right? Or the end consumer interacting very transparently on the system. Let me take an example, right? There's a very fundamental belief that someone, I'm just saying an example of motor insurance in my previous stint, right? There's a very clear-cut fundamental belief that if someone comes and renews their policy 1 month in advance, generally that cohort of customers are better off in a risk. Now you can try and defend it qualitatively, or say someone who's renewing 1 month in advance is generally a careful person. They plan for stuff before going out also, and hence generally lesser accidents, which means if they have a meeting at 2:15, they will ensure that they reach the place by 2 o'clock, which means they leave by 1 o'clock by backward calculating, versus someone who comes on the last day and renews it as a rush person kind of a thing. But then In an offline scenario, how would you really differentiate? For example, you as a customer, you've given a check for payment or money to your agent 30 days in advance, but your agent deposited about 10 days in advance, or whatever. I'm just giving a very it might be slightly a distant example, but it's very difficult, right? That comes to an online platform where the end consumer is interacting with you. That becomes very easy to categorize risk and understand what to do where, right? And what kind of offering do you give to that such a customer, and do as fintechs have come into play, and as more and more data comes into play, that too of end consumer behavior. I think what this will help in is, it's for the industry also, and at the same for consumers also, probably in getting more and more personalized offerings, which will help both, and which will help the entire ecosystem. So that's for sure, which means obviously better products and better services. And as I said, the first part, the service level, given the way information flow is there, everything is there, I think those are anyways bound to go up.
Okay, I think that's a very good point, correct? With the technology and analytics, with personalized input to customers, certainly I think their confidence is further going to grow. Not only that they can expect much faster and smarter services, and which will differentiate between two customers, correct? And certainly what you said is right, correct? When it becomes personalized, it is like somebody serving you the good olden days in the brick and mortar, correct? But that through technology, by understanding everything about you and coming up with the right services. Fantastic. I think I think one other stuff, correct? You mentioned about various things. Just on a last point, I just wanted you to talk about the fintech startups and insurance business have as always assisted customers to build their wealth, correct? Besides securing savings, correct? Maybe you can take an example of yours, correct? And you had mentioned about like various insurance at point of time, but I just wanted to focus on the wealth part of it, and then how a customer can get benefited by this.
From a wealth management perspective, or from a wealth perspective?
Yeah.
See, obviously, there are multiple things that comes to when you speak about wealth, or wealth management or financial planning, right? There are multiple things that come in. The basic layer that comes in financial planning is obviously, it's about and I'll touch upon the insurance aspects in financial planning, right? So the basic things obviously is about ensuring that you have a small corpus which is an emergency fund kind of, and along with it, the base formation has where you kind of take care of whatever that you call as the protection side of insurance, which is about term insurance or health insurance, which will ensure that tomorrow, in case if something happens to your family, has the required amount of money so that your kids' education can go on, or your family's life can go on undisturbed, and so on and so forth. And similarly, health insurance, so that your plans, whatever that you're planning, does not go for a toss. Probably you're planning to buy a house 3 years down the line, and tomorrow all of a sudden one accident without health insurance can just upset the plan by under 5 years, or so on and so forth, right? Or a lot of it can happen. So couple of these is obviously term insurance and health insurance, and then obviously comes your building corpus for future plans and all of that stuff, where probably some of the child insurance plans can come in, or some of the savings plans can come in, so on and so forth. Again, when you look at any of these products, whether it's about savings products, or whether it's about term, or whether it's about health insurance products, I think a clear-cut way in which the platform like ours is clearly helping out consumers is in terms of transparency, in terms of being able to compare what different products are available from different companies and what suits them the best. It's not about we have to understand why everyone has friends and relatives, and what we have to realize is what our friends, family, and their financial needs are. It's not same as us, or even with the relatives also. So what's good for your relative or your friend might not be good for you. For example, let me put it a very, very simple example. Someone who has a person who's very educated spouse can still have a term plan which will pay out the final death benefit in the form of a lump sum. Someone who does not have a so financially sound off spouse might not want a lump sum payout based term insurance plan. It's a very simple thing. which many people don't look at, right? Very, very simple thing. Because we've seen this in the past, and I think a lot of my colleagues also have seen, and I would have also seen in distant relations and all of that stuff, where someone passes away, the family gets 1 crore, and 1 month down the line, then 1 crore is stuck somewhere. Mama ji ne bola hai, I have to put it in this shop, and this shop is gonna double in returns or whatever it is in rent. Why can't I? How can I not invest? How can I say no to him? Or someone comes and says, why don't you do, put up on this land and do this stuff, kind of. A person who's well off in terms of financially educated, kind of, the person will be able to make a sound decision. All that's difficult because already you're in emotional loss on that day. In emotional loss and someone who's not so sound financially educated, kind of, it becomes very difficult to handle that money at the point of time, right? So what might suit your friend who has or what might suit you who has a financially educated spouse might not suit your friend. It's a very, very small one-off example about something that might happen and so on. And similarly, there are n number of nitty-gritties there or things that come in. And, yeah. So it's very important that you compare and purchase. Obviously you do that. What happens most of the time, unfortunately, today is that we do this comparison purchasing. Obviously, we do that. We do that for our mobile phones. We do that for a lot of other stuff, anyways, that we buy today. And unfortunately, I think in the financial space, there's a lot of scope that there are a lot of people who still are yet to get there and do that. I think what the platform provides is clear-cut, transparent comparison, which you can do, and which is humanly impossible. Again, the other thing that you have to understand is it's not about what we're saying is someone is wrong or whatever it is. It's really humanly impossible for someone to sit down and in a half an hour span, or say in a 10 hours in 10 minutes, and make you understand which all products are available, what are the different characteristics of it, or how do they fare across multiple parameters, and then be able to make you get to an informed decision, right? So which means once you make an informed decision, that's the right amount of return for your money, right? So where it's about term insurance, health insurance, or savings products, I think that's the first step of it. The second step of it is obviously in terms of how can you transact it much easily from the comforts of your home rather than being required to go to someone, meet someone, whatever it is, and so on and so forth. All of that put in place. And then the third thing is obviously, given that the world is technologically advancing, a platform like ours probably is in the best place to kind of take advantage of it, and at the same time be able to deliver the levels of customer service which a non-technological platform will not provide, right? Whether it's at the time of a claim, whether it's at the time of post issuance customer service, or whatever it is. Whether it's about you want some changes done in the policy, whether it's about you need some statements, or whether it's about at the time of a claim you need some help. A technology platform obviously has a much higher levels of how do you call it, service levels at this point in time, for sure, because we're able to move whether it's documents or anything electronically and digitally compared to what others are not being able to move. And I think things will only get better as you keep investing more and more on the technology side of it, right? And that's what we are here to do. Which probably an individual person will not be able to do. The individual person also will over a period of time evolve or align with a technology platform, because that person cannot how much will they be able to invest back to upgrade the so-called technology for themselves to be able to service to their customers. So I think the service layer also comes into picture very clearly, and that's what the consumers get. Transparency, so that you're able to get the right product, what suits you the best in any of these categories of wealth management, and then you being able to at the end of whenever you, let's say, whether it's a claim or whatever it's about service, you being able to take the advantage of such a large technology platform, which will give you much better service compared to say a non-technology platform kind of a thing, for sure. Yeah.
I think you mentioned about a lot of things, correct? To me personally speaking, I think using a platform like yours and a fintech platform, what I have benefited is that I was able to get a very transparent comparison, which takes out the asymmetry of the information what one can receive to take an informed decision, correct? So I had bought a policy for my mom, health insurance, maybe 5 years back, correct? It was very seamless, and I was able to compare everything in no time, and I was able to take a right decision, and which I'm very happy about it. Correct. And like you said about after the service, correct. After buying the service is also something like I don't need to spend more time, sweat it out, and then do things, and it happens very seamlessly. Correct. That is something which is very changed the way we used to buy insurance. I think. Thank you, Sajja, for your time with us today. This is a very insightful conversation. I'm sure the listeners of this podcast will have a lot of takeaways from this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Shankar. My pleasure.
Yeah. As we conclude this podcast, we have got to know about how the future of the fintech is going to be. It's going to be potentially, it's boundless. For the last decade, it has changed the way we handle our money. Fintechs are disrupting almost every element of the financial industry, and the indications are, if indications are something to be taken, it is only going to disrupt furthermore and make it convenient for the customer. The crucial thing is that all these innovations, whatever is being done by these fintech companies, are going to help in securing our finances. I'm sure this is going to be a great time for wealth management. We hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and secure. Please let us know what you think about your today's episode, and do stay tuned for the next. Thank you.